family. We have a new video for you today, and we are going to be focusing, it's summertime, so we're going to be focusing on bamboo again, and we have a slightly different approach from our last video, which is also focused on bamboo. This time we are going to shine a light on some of our specialty brushes, and we sent an email out to our email list in principle talking about the difference between brushes that are valued for their versatility and then brushes that are valued more for their specificity or their exaggerated character that makes them particularly good at one stroke or a certain kind of stroke. So those are the brushes that we're going to highlight today. When a brush's specificity gets so acute, then it becomes what we call like a secret weapon brush, where it can kind of unlock an essential stroke for a newer artist because the brush is so inclined to make that stroke. So that's kind of like what we want to show today, and we want to show it in the context of bamboo since it's like one of the first subjects that we all try to paint. So these are the three brushes that we're going to highlight today. We have our BIFF brush. Okay, so this is our small BIFF brush, and then we have our Twig brush, the small Twig brush, or just what we call Twig, and then this is our mountain bamboo brush. So how we're going to use these brushes today is we're going to do larger trunks with the BIFF, we're going to do smaller trunks with the Twig, and we're going to do the leaves with the mountain bamboo. And we're going to showcase a couple different papers today. We want to we want to not take for granted our practice roll. It's one of our most popular papers, and it's very high quality paper. It's a machine made rice paper, comes in a continuous roll, and we have it in 4 different widths that come in a continuous roll. So there's a lot of versatility and size selection. And for those of you who don't know, if you're looking for larger size pieces, we sell the same paper that we sell as practice roll as Chinese mounting paper. So it's the same paper, and if you want to paint larger, just go to our website and look for Chinese mounting paper, and then you will see larger size continuous rolls, and those are really great for very big pieces. My father has done very large, very high stakes commission pieces for corporate clients with that paper, and it's been quite successful for him. So I have a sheet cut of our practice roll here, and we're just going to let this fly. I think the good thing about our demos is almost always we're like doing one take demonstrations. So the imperfections and little happy accidents that happen are just part of painting. So I'm gonna wet my BIFF brush, and I'm gonna make sure that I flatten it and get it into this sort of flatter shape. That's what's gonna really allow me to kind of do this stroke get a more consistent bamboo trunk stroke. And then I've made 2 preparations of ink here. In the shallower dish, I made kind of like a diluted ink, and then in my Suzuri Stone here, I have just straight ink, and I'm using the Best Bottle ink here. This is there's a bunch of different inks that are sold. We like the Best Bottle because of its permanency and because of its ability to show shades of gray. So when you're doing ink painting, you want to show variation. So you choose an ink that can show different tonalities, very darks, concentration, but we also want to show all these different light shades as well. And that is different often than people who do calligraphy, where when you're doing calligraphy, often people want a very free-flowing ink, and they want a very like high contrast black. So we usually don't use calligraphy ink for painting. Yeah. So the 3 kind of inks that we sell are, we have like basically student quality practice inks, which are You know, they're versatile because the permanency isn't so emphasized on them. They can be reconstituted after they dry up. So that's kind of one advantage of a student quality ink. Then we have like the best bottle ink, which is the one that we recommend for painting. And then we have a calligraphy ink, and then we have an ink whose glue content is a little bit higher, and that's what we like for fine line painting because you know, you want a lot of precision when you're doing that line work for the fine line painting. And if you have an ink that has a higher glue content, it's gonna the ink is gonna stay put a little bit better. Okay, so we're preparing our BIFF brush, rinsing it off. Then I'm gonna load up this like lighter ink. I'm going to brush the sides to make sure it's not too wet. And then I'm going to hit the tip, each edge I'm going to hit with the more concentrated ink. And then I'm going to blend the brush like this. Just a little circular motion onto a clean blending plate. And then I have like a little paper towel here. I'm just going to do a little test stroke on it just to get like the excess color off so the first stroke isn't too dark. And then I'm going to go ahead and line up my paper here, and we'll just okay, so you can see the exaggerated shape of the BIFF brush allowed me to get a very consistent stroke from top to bottom. And this is really challenging to do with a more versatile brush. It takes an incredible amount of control. So that's kind of like when we discovered this BIFF brush, we're like, oh, it's gonna make the bamboo trunk so much easier. So we go ahead and did that. We have our main bamboo trunk. Now we're gonna do like a smaller trunk off to the side, maybe a little bit curving compositionally, and we're gonna show off the twig brush with that. So here's our twig brush. I want this trunk maybe to be a little bit lighter, yeah, and maybe a little bit of a natural curve to it. So I'm going to go ahead and start up here and then start to work down. All right, so then we have our twig brush, okay? And again, it has a little bit of an exaggerated shape. The brush is shorter, a little bit wider. When I press it down, it'll give me a little bit more stability, and it just gives me a little bit of a feeling of what we would need to do like these more consistent line strokes. So that's the twig. Now we're gonna go ahead and start some leaves with the mountain bamboo brush. So we have to know that for each stroke, each different kind of stroke has a different ideal amount of moisture. And I think the bamboo leaf stroke is like one of the wettest strokes. So if you want to get like these nice sharp lines, one, you want to paint fast and decisive with the bamboo strokes, and you want kind of a wet, with the bamboo leaves, and you want a kind of a wet stroke. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe a little grouping here off to the side. One more to balance, one more group to balance it off in this direction. Okay, good. All right. So now I'm going to go back to the twig brush to think, well, I'm going to connect this. And I also want to paint some rings. So maybe up from the main here. Maybe do the rings first. All right. And then maybe some happy dots here on this smaller trunk just to give the suggestion of the rings. Okay. And we have our simple bamboo composition, nice and classic, showcasing these 3 brushes. And I want to do it one more time, and I want to showcase a different paper. So that's our practice roll. I would say the practice roll kind of simulates a little bit more forgiving of a single Xuan, maybe. It's always nice to choose a practice paper that has a little bit more dynamic moisture quality because it'll train the moisture discipline. You know, you kind of what I sort of say is, you know, if you want to, some people like to have cheaper practice paper, and then, you know, they have some of their nicer paper that they use for final compositions. So when you do that, you want to pair papers that are similar in quality. I think that for the practice paper, you're always choosing a more moisture dynamic paper to train that moisture discipline. And then when you go to the final composition paper, you will appreciate the more moisture control that paper has. That being said, I think that as you get more and more committed to your artistry and think more about producing finished work, there really is no substitute to painting a lot on your final composition paper. And you know, what I think people don't realize, who don't have a lot of experience with this art form, is how much people actually paint, and their output, you know, your output is really, when you're doing it right, the output is like, it gets overwhelming. It's like, what am I going to do with all these paintings? Yes. And the better you get, the more, like, the fewer ones you throw away, because you're more often producing works that are pleasing to you. So of course, you know, there's all kinds of spectrums along the journey to that state, but I guess the deal is most people that we talk to should be painting more. And you know, when you buy full, like if you buy 10 full sheets of paper from us, you know, at sort of the largest classic composition size, that's 30 18 by 27 sheets, it's 60. You know, if you're going to cut those in half, it's going to be 60 pieces of those sizes. So you should, you know, have the experience of painting through, you know, a 10 sheet package, just kind of as a warm up, and then realize that, you know, like a professional artist, like, you know, Ning Ye, he'll take 100 full sheets just to warm up on a subject, you know. That seems crazy, but it is true. That's how you get into the flow of this art form. How you find the spontaneity. All right. Okay. So we're switching now. This is our P27 BL. It's a cut, sort of extra thick double Xuan, and so you're going to get kind of a good amount of moisture control with this paper, and you will see that as I paint on it, that we get a little bit more texture, a little bit more sharper lines, a little bit less of that like dynamic moisture quality that we were seeing in the practice paper. Oh yeah, already you see that texture. Yeah. So I think part of this art form and Eastern philosophy in general is just the embracing of the unexpected and the reserving of judgment. You know, we have how we intend things to be, how we expect them to be, and then we have what actually happens. And, you know, my father likes to use the term happy accident, and it's really true. The quality of a master in this art form is not that everything always turns out exactly as it's intended. It's that he knows to flow from everything that happens and make the best choice given the reality of what has occurred on the paper. And once you get comfortable with that, the process of doing this type of painting is incredibly exciting, because it's like you don't know what's going to happen. You're following a journey every single time, and there's the lack of predictability is what becomes really thrilling, so long as you don't get over attached to your expectations. All right. All right, so we got our twig brush here. I'm going to follow up with some leaves. Make sure I get enough moisture on this stroke because the drier paper. All right. And we're going to follow up and do some twigs and rings. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. We have these 3 brushes will be kind of a game changer if you're stuck in this place where it's just like, oh, the initial attempts are too frustrating. You know, I want to kind of talk about 2 different types of audiences. So some of you are coming to us having bought supplies somewhere else, and you know, we're not 100% familiar with like the most modern level of supplies, but what we know about what we do is that we have a lot of years of generational experience here, and not only do we have a lot of experience with the art form, but we have a lot of experience guiding people who don't have cultural backgrounds from the East into like lifelong satisfying enjoyment of this art form. And so all of our materials are chosen with that intention, and we know how to resolve any things that are going on. So part of what we want to do at the beginning is just make sure that your materials aren't fighting you. And the easiest way for us to be sure that that's the case is for you to have our stuff. Then we can kind of say, okay, we know that the materials are adequate enough that you won't be required to develop a high level of skill just to compensate for a poor quality brush. So of course we're all concerned about the cost of things nowadays, but in general this art form and this hobby is not expensive. And you know, these brushes will last a long time. You will paint thousands of paintings with a set of brushes, and so it's worth the investment. And just getting paper and brushes that can sort of ease your mind and think, okay, now I can just focus on developing the skill that I need, and you can do it with our support. So and we'll try to support you. If you're not using our materials, we'll try to support you too, but it's just that process is really difficult because some materials are so hard to use that you know, it can add a lot to your frustration. So we want you to value your own time and your own sanity, and you know, get a reliable source that has the support, and that's what we're providing here at OAS. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you on the next video. Whether it be my mother, Ling Chi, or my father, Ning, or occasionally me, we are here always to kind of give you inspiration, give you some guidance onto the next step of your journey. All right, thanks and happy painting.